we're doing now is, obviously we're not doctors. We can't say that the person's dead, but obviously they don't have a pulse and they're not breathing. So we have to expose the body, have a look at it, get mother to identify it. And as far as our operation is concerned, we just need to move the body now. It doesn't go on a barouche, it doesn't get put on one of those trolleys like the injured party coming out on that Oregon board is now, on slide board, sorry. What they're going to do is they place the body under a blue zip-up bag. Because what's going to happen to that person is what will happen to you if you die in a crash. You get wrapped in a blue bag, you get zipped up, and you get taken away by undertakers or the coroner's van, depending on who's available, and you're taken to a morgue for further identification and examination. This person, for us, is evidence. They stopped being a person because they're dead, now they're evidence, and we will treat them as evidence. We need to look after them, we need to preserve them, we need to examine them, we need to work out what happened. Because we're going to prosecute the driver. Simple things, eyes off the road just for a second. Keep your head up, look where you're going. Using a mobile phone, keep the eyes up, look where you're going. Been drinking, slows your reaction time, watch where you're going. Pedestrian listening to music, open your eyes, look where you're going. We talk to young children about stop, look, listen and think, stop at the curb, look to your right, look to your left, look to your right again, but when we grow up we stop doing it. This is the outcome. Whether you're walking or driving or riding, you need to look to the right, to the left, to the right, because this is what happens.
So now we're just loading up the patient that was trapped in the other vehicle. She'll go into the ambulance and we'll transport her through to probably from here to Royal Adelaide Hospital, and likewise with that one there. You'll see that there's the assistance of safe hold to lift her. She's now got obviously a leg fracture. She's got a splint on the left leg. She's also got a heart monitor on, which will give us an idea on a number of things. One, how her rhythm is going, how fast is her rhythm. It can also keep us an eye on if there's any change within the heart area. Remember, she's been struck at a vehicle doing anywhere between 60 and 80 kilometres an hour, so she's got some significant internal injuries as well. They'll keep an eye on that, so they use all the equipment possible to make sure that they can monitor her as the best they possibly can. Now it's just in a process of they'll load her onto the stretcher and then we'll transport her through to Royal Adelaide.
So there's some other things that we might have missed. For example, why is there a fire extinguisher over by the car? Because one of the things that the fire brigade will do is they'll isolate the battery. The last thing we want is a spark to occur where we've got petrol in vehicles leaking on roads. There's also a senior fire officer who's been standing at the back of the baseball cap. You notice he hasn't actually done anything. His job is to stand back, observe and coordinate the fire response so that his people don't get hurt. Now this has taken only about sort of 40 minutes or so, 45 minutes. You can imagine when we're trying to be as careful as we can, when we actually have to take long travel times to get to places. This is nothing by comparison to the time that it will really take should you become one of the 6,500 South Australians who will get injured on our roads this year. If you are one of the 200 16 to 19-year-olds that are still to get injured on our roads.
So you see now our final patient has been loaded onto the stretcher. They'll now go through the process of, rather than transport her with a hard board on her back, they'll do a coordinated roll and the board can come out just as it did then slide out. Again, you'll see that she's got a cervical collar on. Again, just to protect, not saying there is injuries, but just to protect the neck, cervical area, so that with a whiplash injury you can get quite severe neck injuries as a result of that. So they'll now transport this lady through to the Royal Adelaide Hospital, and that's the last of our patients that will be going from there.
So over to your left, the police officer over here has set up something on a tripod. It's a theodolite. What that does is he takes a reference point and he starts measuring the distance to each various points in this crash. So he'll start looking at where the skid marks finish, where they started, where the cars ended up. where the point of impact might have been. So we'll be looking for things like glass on the ground, which suggests that's where the crash actually happened, because obviously moving objects continue to move. In the same way, our passenger, we've done it in Year 10 science, haven't we? Moving things continue to move. So the car stopped, but she didn't because she wasn't wearing a seatbelt. Why wouldn't you wear a seatbelt? It's the first line of defence in a crash. It will keep you at least with the seat. The second thing is the strength and integrity of the vehicle that you're driving. So think about the quality of the car that you drive. We've got the last injured party moving away now, and this is when the serious investigation gets underway, because what we're interested in is explaining to the court, to the mother that we saw crying. Our job is to explain what happened, and we'll do that by gathering evidence at the scene.
So as far as SAS is concerned now, our job at the scene is pretty well done. The next part of it now starts with regards to passing on to the Royal Adelaide what we'll do. En route, the paramedic treating the patient will be talking through to the doctor at the Royal Adelaide Hospital and relaying what injuries they have, how soon they will get there, and the team at the Royal Adelaide, their trauma team, will be waiting for them to treat that patient straight away. This will happen with every patient that we've actually transported from this hospital, from the scene to the hospital. Then we'll have our commander will just do a quick scan to make sure that we haven't left any equipment, and then that'll be our part of it from this done.
Now, if you can see into the car that is immediately in front of you, you'll see that white bag on the steering wheel. We've all heard about airbags. When we see them on the television, they go up like big fluffy pillows. It's a hard woven material. It's like a plastic type material. It inflates at nearly 300 kilometres an hour. It's got to become fully inflated at the time it takes your head to move from one hand to the other hand, no more than that. It has to be fully inflated and then start to deflate as your head hits it. If you've ever tried catching a ball, don't catch a ball like that. What do? We give it a few portions of a second to slow it down when we catch it. The same thing happens with the airbag. It just adds milliseconds to the time it takes to stop. Bearing in mind, this car is travelling at 80 kilometres an hour. It's doing over 20 metres per second, and in 7/10 of a tenth of a second, it comes to a complete stop. So you've got a body, your physical body is moving at 20 or more metres per second, and in 7 milliseconds, 7/10 of 1/10 of a second, your body completely stops. Airbags are meant to try and cushion a bit of that blow. If you don't wear seatbelts, you get to the airbag while it's still inflating and it hits you in the face at nearly 300 kilometres an hour. They're not soft, fluffy pillows, and people can die from airbags that are inflating. You'll notice that they put the roof of the car on a plastic sheet. We need to examine them.